everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Ruben Bressler.
Aaron, do you want to sing? Can we sing for Evan?
Do I want to sing or do I want to sing?
Well, I mean, we can get everybody at home to join in if we want to do it right now.
Are we doing Maryland? Are we doing?
No, we just do regular, make him feel uncomfortable.
Missionary, if you will. See also the pre-show for more discussions. Hey, I'm just trying to let them know. We're marketing the pre-show.
You're almost an adult.
To sell
so
product.
we're doing like Applebee's version. Like
Applebee's.
Family restaurant.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, sure.
I still remember the Applebee's channel. I used to work at Applebee's. It was like it was military style. It was like, what you want? Woo. Babe, we got it. Yeah, what you need.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, it was weird.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Evan Irwin. Happy birthday to you.
Lordy, I will be 40 tomorrow, as of about an hour
Show
from now.
them those gray whiskers.
See, this is children right here, by the way. If you're like, hey, I wonder what kids do. What do kids do? That. Right there. You take a little tiny, itty bitty patch right here. He was all distinguished and great. No, dog. Explode all over my face.
The good news is that now you blend in with the tall grass and can hide from predators when you rise up on your haunches.
Well, good. And I've been talking about magic cards for 15 freaking years, y'all.
That's insane. That's crazy to me.
That is true. We do have a sub goal of 40 tonight for obvious reasons.
Yeah,
which would be awesome to make. I don't know if it's working. I think I've seen some. I've
seen a few
from subs. And I don't think it's moving.
Last week of sub. Don't one more. There's like a week.
September.
September's one more week to go.
We got September going on, so you'll have more bang for your buck. We're currently on a level 4 hype train, which is great to go.
I love it. So you guys are great. Yeah. Well, look, we kick it off with our first pick and giveaway. A $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com could be yours. ! Raffle in the chat. Sub first to get 2 chances to win.
And if you have those Bezos bucks, then you can use that instead.
I think my counter here is busted. Thanks, Streamlabs. That's great. Wow. That's unfortunate. Well, thanks everybody for being subs and awesome too. All right, so last week we did not have a show as we all participated in the ZNR Early Access event.
Yeah.
And well, we'll get there in Desperate Ravings. But it's a little weird for us to go, here's what we think about all the cards, and they're also talking about doing something to a format already. Okay.
Well, to be fair,
I had a good time.
Let's go in order. Evan, you went first. You mostly played Constructed Standard, yes?
I mostly played Constructed. I played a little bit of Limited before the stream just to kind of get, the idea, how these cards play, stuff like that. I had a really good time trying to figure out sort of what's the best percentage of, real lands versus your flip lands versus your spells that are lands. That's a whole thing. I played the silly Omnath deck, and I was like, this is ridiculous, right? This is only working because we're in this ridiculous event where no one's really taking it seriously. We're here to have fun, whatever. I didn't expect it to actually destroy everything.
Yeah.
To be unbelievable, which is incredible. But I still had a good time with that. I had a great time with the Rogues deck. I think the Blue-Black Rogues deck has...
The Rogues are obnoxious.
I think they're sweet when they work, and that's the idea.
It's really tough to draft that deck is my problem with it, which is what I did during my portion of the pre-show early access streamer event. Flawless segue. Which, I like the mechanic of they need 8 cards in their graveyard. I think that's interesting. I think it's new and different. Especially because there are so many dangerous things that you can be putting into your opponent's graveyard. The Capstone Rare, using their opponent's graveyard after you milled them with all your 1 and 2 drops.
So good.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I think that's an interesting archetype. I did it all Limited all the time when I was drafting, and before, and after, and ever since, because I think that this Limited format is spectacularly fun. I am having a ton of fun with this format. There are a couple of schools of thought as to whether or not you should just pick the spell lands above literally everything else. It's just a fun, interesting format. I've played as many as, I think, a total of 29 lands, between lands and flip cards, and as few as like 10 lands between like lands and flip cards, depending on what style of deck I have. If I need more if I need to guarantee land drops, if I have things like Kazandu Stomper to rebuy lands, or if I, am like a super low to the ground mono red aggro deck that just has Spike Fields in it or whatever that card is. And Party plays really well. I never thought I would draft this many Prismites in my life.
That guy's awesome.
Every deck wants 2 or 3. It's crazy. I love Party. So there's like a blue-white Party deck, there's a black-red Party deck, and then green can partner with any of the colors for Party, which is super interesting. I am having the most success with the Kicker deck, the blue-green Kicker deck, but there's also a +1/+1 counters deck in black-green. I mean, it's a really interesting, deep, fun format.
Oh, the archetypes are great. Like, there's the green-white landfall deck that's in there, the black-blue rogues. Something's going on with black-red. I haven't really figured out yet. Maybe it's just built around Party.
Black-red is a Party deck, yeah. So what you want to do is play a 1-drop. There's a bunch of fine 1-drops. There's like a rogue. There's a common rogue. There's an uncommon warrior. Then you play that 2/1 cleric that drains them, and you gain for 2 on 2, and then you've got the mace at uncommon, and you've got the crazy death touch haste idiot at rare. That card is unreasonable. Zagoth or whatever his name is.
That card's dumb.
But yeah, it's a Party deck too.
Yeah, Aaron, how'd yours go?
So this was really interesting because this is the first time we each got individual accounts. A lot of people don't know this, but typically when we do the early access event, we get one account. Magic Mike's gets a VIP account, and we have to share that between the 3 of us, which can make it a little awkward, for transitions or having to build your decks ahead of time. This time we each got an account. So there was like Magic Mike's Aaron, Magic Mike's Ruben, and that made it really convenient. I was able to log in earlier that day, play some games by myself without ruining their fun. I was able to have my decks build ahead of time. I played Constructed. I grabbed about a dozen decks built by Yeoman5 on Twitter. If you get a chance, you should follow him and contribute to his efforts. He's one of the most exciting deck builders I've ever seen.
And prolific.
And I can't think of doing an early access event without him. So I grabbed about a dozen decks from him. The first couple of decks I played felt really underpowered. Like I felt like I just got trampled over. I tried playing, black-white clerics. I tried playing something else, and I just kept getting killed pretty quickly. And I was like, I'm not here to win solely, but I don't want to get slaughtered either. And so then I picked up a Doom Foretold deck, which I historically love. I love Doom Foretold as a card. And it got a couple new toys there, and I ended up doing really well with it. And before I knew it, I was winning, and then I just rode that deck all the way to the end. And I had a lot of really fun games with it. I was doing a bunch of Yorion blinking shenanigans. I really miss Oath of Kaya. That was such an important part of the deck, and now that that's gone, it's a little bit difficult. But stray supplies or scrap supplies?
Yeah, spare supplies.
Spare supplies is the truth.
I like that.
It's so funny because everyone else, watching the early access events, people are like, what card are you excited about? People are like, I'm excited for Omnath. And people are like, I'm excited for Lotus Cobra. And I'm like, I'm here for spare supplies.
I'm here for spare supplies, yeah.
Spare supplies for the
I
win.
had a really good time. Chat was very cool. I had some people helping me out in the chat. I stayed until about a little after midnight my time, and I had a really, really good time. I faced a nice mix of decks. I really didn't face the same thing twice. Rogues are ridiculous. Every time I face that deck, it just spins out of control so quickly. They have flash and they mill you and they steal things, and it's just it's obnoxious. They very clearly want that to be a thing. It's just really awkward when you have Uro around because the Uro decks are like, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. But so I had a fantastic time. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast, #sponsored for that free preview action.
Yeah.
Always had a good time. And again, they helped us out with the individual accounts. They didn't need to do that. Thank you very much for that.
They also did something unique this time. I don't know if they've done this before, but there was a Discord for this.
Yes.
A couple days before, they invited us all to this Discord, and it had lots of channels. There was a deck building channel where you get deck ideas. There was a place to get your graphics approved. There was a place to issue direct challenges. There was a rules channel for what they wanted people to do with your. It was really well put together.
Multiple languages of support as well. It was an easy place to center all of the graphics and all of the questions. It was such a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk, where the Mythic Invitational happened. They gave away hundreds of thousands of dollars, and Where to
Production
begin?
value's gotta
I
be
have to
high.
tell you, I
Where
have
to
not
begin?
watched competitive Magic the Gathering in a very long time. Certainly since quarantine started.
In a hot minute, yeah.
Possibly before. It is not a thing I'm interested in watching. I don't know what happened. I mean, I know kind of some of the things that happened, but there are many things that had to result in me, a person who hosts a Magic the Gathering news program with two of my co-hosts and needs to be up to date on things, to not watch that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Based on social media, it sounds like the biggest stories were kind of controversies. You know, there was some issue over people in the chat were trying to chant, like they were trying to use like emojis to like root for people, and then there was a disconnect there in terms of whether or not the mods were going to allow that, and then there were some mods that let them and some mods that didn't, and then that bled over to Twitter. There was an issue over technical difficulties where you know, they weren't able to, I think they couldn't air the last day on time or the last couple rounds, and so
Well, there was a couple of reasons for that.
Yeah, and so people were really upset about that too. And so, you know, I hate to say it, but I feel like more often than not, when I do hear about these events, it's usually because of something went wrong, where someone's peeing in the background, or, you know, someone didn't, you know,
there's hot singles in your area that happen to
someone
show
didn't
up.
plug something in. You know, I'm not really hearing about it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
and
but
that's
I
a
mean,
shame.
that's part of the media outrage machine, where we're not going to hear about the things that go smoothly.
But we used to hear about good decks, or we would hear about crazy deck techs, or we would hear about somebody who had a really great run, like when Shota, you know, builds a deck the night before and goes 8-0. We used to hear about the games. We used to hear about the decks, and I feel like that's taken a backseat to, you know, what went wrong.
Well, they definitely took away the excitement of the build the night before, because you can't, you build 100 hours before now, and so there's no such thing as the sweet new tech anymore.
Right, there's no surprises.
There's no surprises. Everything is found out immediately, especially with Arena, because everyone gets access to everything immediately. You find out what the best thing is immediately. And so that's part of what is leading to what feel like immediately stagnant, because we're racing and then we're there. Like, there's no development, there's no evolution over a metagame.
It's weird to me that they have a development roadmap that does not include like an observer mode, like, you know, a way for an admin or, you know, someone to be able to kind of look in on your game that you can use for broadcast to make sure that there's no hot singles in your area that's going to pop up in the bottom right of your freaking broadcast for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's not even on the table. It's not even anywhere in the, you know, in sight right now.
That is very strange.
It's weird to me. Like, you want to be an esport, right? Like, that's part of it, is you have to get rid of this silliness. You're never going to get rid of people peeing in the background or whatever if you don't start with stuff like this.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just weird. That said, Emma Handy made 9th. That was great. Congratulations to Emma. She
Now,
did a
was
great
it
job.
a clean? Was it clean, or was that a breakers?
I think it was a breakers, as I recall, which was unfortunate. But there definitely was a weird pushback on LSV talking about getting burritos if he makes top 8. And so Wizards actually sent him burritos because he made top 8.
Is there pushback on that?
And they were like, how dare he get burritos? And I'm like, guys, this is funny and kind of silly.
Exactly. Him eating the burrito during the stream was hilarious.
Yes.
Toasting it to the camera. You want that for your game.
Yeah.
That was viral.
I feel like,
that
I
was
feel
cool.
like I feel like in the same way that Wizards is a little confused about whether they want to be an esport, I think the audience is too, where it's like, you know, they say they want it to be an esport, but then, you know, when you do have these sort of breaking the fourth wall kind of moments, you know, then all of a sudden they want you to go back to like a chess game, or then they want to go back to the old days. And I feel like the audience is a little bit torn as well.
LSV, keep doing that.
Yeah,
you did great.
Yeah, and Wizards did a great job. Like, lean into that stuff. People are trying to hating at that stuff. It's like, this is silly fun. We want silly fun. It's 2020. Can we have some silly fun, please?
Yeah, let us. And the emojis in chat is another good example of this, which I think they ultimately let happen, send the scoop to root for Shoop or whatever, which they accidentally, they instead tweeted poop, of course, but that was stupid. But you know, it was like, send the something to root for Gab. Like, that's fun.
Send the
that's
crabs.
cute.
Yeah,
Send the crab to root for Gab. That's cute. That's fun. That's interesting.
Right. Don't send the poop to vote for Shoop or whatever. That's bad.
Send the I was trying to think of one for Ruben, but my name rhymes with interesting things. So
well, look, and again, this is not the key was that the top 8 wasn't shown on the weekend. They waited a whole day and showed it later,
and they couldn't say anything either. Like those games were pre-played, and so you had to wait a while to be able to tell people and for them to celebrate you. And
so there was a couple things about that. On the one hand, it was frustrating. On the one hand, it seemed less than professional. However, I'm going to defend Wizards, and I'm happy to be wrong here. But this happened to League of Legends the week before. The communication on it was great. The eventual broadcast was good.
It was good when we finally got here.
We finally got it.
And high-level Magic.
And because this was all from homes, the players on the other side of the world got a chance to sleep. Otherwise, the finals would have been at the end of a night where it would have been 7 a.m. in Japan or whatever. Right. So those are all positives. I honestly think that what they ended up doing is making the best of a bad situation.
I mean, the best you can do with, when something apparently blew up. I don't know exactly what. I don't know exactly how. Not that, we're owed that explanation anyway. But, I can only hope to God that whatever happened, they're putting things in place so it doesn't happen again. This is a big event. This was the $250,000, like huge, big event. And it just kind of just farted away after the top 8 were announced, and you're like, okay,
it happens.
It does. It just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice to see the overwhelming majority of people. Even Kibler came out and was like, if you think this doesn't happen in other games, you're sadly mistaken.
Exactly.
And so, it's technical difficulties. I think it was just the cherry on a really unfortunate Sunday where Wizards is already dealing with a number of gaffes, and then just to have this on top of it just didn't really help any.
It's the icing on the cake, but it's a really good cake already.
Pretty decent cake.
Where is cake, Evan? It's your birthday.
I know, right?
That's
right. And my favorite cake is carrot cake, so I think I'll have some of that tomorrow.
Your favorite cake is carrot cake?
Yeah.
Wow. It is vegetables.
Well, I mean, carrot cake's delicious. What are you talking about?
Wow. Well, he's old.
Cream cheese icing?
To be fair. The cream cheese icing is nice.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Cake. Okay.
What's wrong with y'all?
I do love carrot cake.
Goodness gracious. All right. So, Wizards, this is a little bit dated at this point. Wizards released the Arena State of the Game for Magic Arena, and this is partly why I want to bring up they have a roadmap for 2021 that doesn't have anything include like a observer tournament mode type thing, which is unfortunate. They've got, deck sharing in the in-concept phase. Like, should we not just get, deck codes? Like, haven't we figured this out from other games? Like, am I wrong here? That just
I mean, maybe we haven't. It is weird what they seem to be prioritizing. A lot of the things they're prioritizing seem to be secondary things that I would expect to be secondary to things that aren't on the list.
Sure.
It seems like everything that's up number 1 should be number 2. Everything that's up number 2 should be number 3. And there's 2 or 3 things that just aren't on the list: deck sharing and observer mode and tournament software built into the program included.
Yeah, being able to have your own queue, for example, if you had a queue code that you and your friends could be in a draft that you had the queue code for, stuff like that would be really interesting. But they also talked about mobile, and again, this is my pie bet for the year.
Yeah,
I will happily take a pie to the face. Arena developers, the gauntlet has been thrown down. You will get the satisfaction of seeing me pied if that thing releases on the App Store where I can download it on my phone, play a game of Magic, 100%. Pies are coming. If not, I won the pie bet. Now, didn't I? They keep saying it. We'll see.
You have a pie bet against 6 people.
Yeah.
So we got a half dozen pies riding on this.
Very now Ides of March, just pies small.
We do know your favorite cake. Now, what's your favorite pie?
Ooh, key lime is my favorite pie.
Good choice.
Like some key lime. Very nice. Okay. They also talked about Kaladesh Remastered. Do note, at one point, we were playing Kaladesh and Aether Revolt and, all that. It was in the client. Like, we got to play it in Arena at one point, and they took that stuff away. And then, so now they're kind of bringing it back. And they did the Amonkhet Remastered this time for Kaladesh Remastered. And essentially, they were surprised, I'm guessing, by how many people played Amonkhet Remastered or something. They want to make sure that the limited format was in shape.
Sure.
So that's cool. Like, I'm not necessarily looking forward to a lot of the Amonkhet cards coming to Historic. It's whatever, but, the gods are coming one way or another, whether we like it or not.
Right.
Pioneer Masters is interesting. They shifted that back to the concepting stage because...
God, remember Pioneer?
Remember Pioneer, y'all? Remember Pioneer? Like, Historic is...
make a damn bit of difference.
Yeah, Historic is about to, hop over Pioneer as to formats we care about because... It's 2020. We can't go play with our cards.
We can't do anything. Exactly.
So let's play online. And like I said, I've been having a heck of a bunch of fun with the Historic format.
Heck of a bunch of fun.
There you go.
Love it.
In a couple days, there is going to be another secret lair. This one got
Zendikar.
Leaked,
didn't it? Where it was supposed to be announced during the top 8 or whatever that couldn't be aired on time. And then I think this came out accidentally, and then it was it was very anticlimactic.
Well, yeah, because it came out when it came out when you thought top 8 was going to be, and so it got leaked a day early, essentially.
Right.
So I wouldn't say that it was super anticlimactic, but
the cards also aren't terribly exciting.
That's true.
A little bit. Admonition Angel is $15 or so. That's kind of the star.
Wow, I know that.
It's a big mythic from back in the day. Very big casual card. Royal Elemental, Zulaport Cutthroat, Warren Instigator. Hey, one of my fan favorites.
Royal Elemental snuck up on me too. Isn't that card randomly expensive?
I believe it might be. I'd have to look.
What a weird amalgamation of random.
Yeah, that's a $10 rare right there.
Okay.
Goodness gracious.
So crazy.
Yeah, and Zulaport Cutthroat, of course, going all in those sweet decks or whatever.
Sure.
The Aristocrat stuff, and Warren Instigator for me, of course. It's
great.
a Goblin Guide, or Goblin Lackey, rather, with Double Strike. And Avenger of Zendikar, that's another huge, winner in the casual space. Mm-hmm. So all these cards are really sweet. You can get them in foil or non-foil if you'd like. I'm kind of okay on this one. I think it's fine. This is, you get to the point where the secret lair stuff has become sort of a new normal, as are other new normals that I kind of hate, but it is kind of a new normal of, Wizards is selling some singles every once in a while.
Right.
Do you care about them?
This one, though, isn't a buy it and shove it in a closet for 5 years, as much as some of the other ones are.
Right. And to me, I always look at stuff like, is it not going to be bought? If it's not going to be bought, like the Godzilla lands, that's a great thing. You want them to not be bought. That makes them rare. Or, of course, if they have really sweet stuff like the tattoo pack or whatever, those are great because it's got great cards and great artwork. So they kind of ebb and flow, but this is one of those things. If any of these cards are your jam, this is really sweet. I'll take it. All right. Let's move on here. Squire has been replaced in the April Fool's secret lair.
Yes.
And they've been sending these to stores. To a white bordered Tybalt the Fiend Blooded.
I saw this and I was like,
amazing.
This is it's seriously amazing. I don't know whose idea this was, but somehow this is they must have been able to get these out immediately because they just had the Tybalt print sheet.
Yeah, and all they need to do was remove the
white border it. This is an incredible audible that they pulled off. It really is.
This is a card because the card is known to be terrible, and because white bordered is known to be sort of lesser, and the fact that they haven't made a white bordered card in God knows what 10 years or something, it is so crazy unique. And I assure you, listen to me, people, if you can get a hold of a copy of this card for less than $150, there's just not going to be that many out there. This is going to be a weird, almost reserved list card that they're never going to reprint again in this fashion. They're only giving stores usually anywhere from 1 to 5, whether or not they're a WPM premium or not store. So super duper hard to find these things. This is the find, honestly, possibly of the year. If you can get your hands on one of these, stick in the closet, this is the winner, because in 5 years we'll go, this thing is worth what? Because damn, it's awesome. So if you're going to replace the Squire, from the artist that we shall not name, then I'll take a sweet white border Planeswalker. That's awesome. So Wizards crushed it on that one. Very nice. So moving on here, there was a article on the WPN site that talked about Commander play jumped 3x rather, in 2 years. Like, that came out weird.
That's a different variation.
I meant like triple the attendance, but it came out weird, and I saw the X again. Regardless,
I got you. You're good.
Commander play jumped 3 times in 2 years, which is honestly weird to brag about paper play. It is.
No, I think it's a good thing. But if you really look at like the meat of this article, it says, when we froze metrics in February, all stores had on average 1,846 tickets in a year. So I'm under the impression that's event tickets. Like when you sign up for an event, your store gives you a ticket or a receipt, and that's what you get. Stores that ran Commander events had 2,111 tickets. That's 14% more tickets. And so I think it is really important to say, because, we tend to live in a vacuum, and so it's very easy to, look at Twitter or look at Facebook and assume that everyone plays Magic the way that you do. If you're surrounded by a lot of competitive people, you're going to say, oh, who plays Commander? Well, a lot of people are playing Commander, and you're actually in the minority. And so I think it's important to see things like this to really get a better understanding of who really is playing Magic and who really is buying Magic.
Right, because this is one of those things that we're starting to see where, as loud and as annoying as the Twitter and or Reddit can be, Magic is crushing it. Yeah. You can complain about these mythics, complain about Oko, Once Upon a Time, Fires of Invention, the busted companion mechanic. It's selling like crazy. Like, none of this stuff is failing. None of this is just it's not being bought, and no one's voting with their wallet. They're just complaining, but they're still buying it. So why should Wizards stop doing what they're doing? I don't get it.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised to see that Commander's doing well right now. We are going through really difficult times, and so we have webcam. We have my words are so hard tonight.
So webkins? Were you going to say webkins?
Webkins.
No, I was going to say, webcam Commander has really broken out as being like, the paper Magic that people are playing right now to, stay in touch with each other. You don't have to worry about meta games. You don't have to worry about buys and planeswalker points, when you're dealing with everything else. Like, it's just, it's where you want to be right now. If you don't like a format, if it's too broken, go play Commander, where you can play just about anything. And everything's fair game, and it's just so different than what every other format is offering you right now, and it really just goes along with the times right now.
Man, webcam Commander, I'll tell you, might be format of the year. It might be the biggest surprise. I am shocked and pleasantly surprised by Spell Table, go look, stay on our channel, but go look at the games that are being streamed right now. There's dozens. There's literally tens of people
That's awesome.
Streaming Commander.
My boyfriend just started a new vodcast the other day with his friend, and they had about 25 to 35 viewers throughout the night, which is not bad for, two people who, are new to the content game.
Right.
And so, not only there's really a market for that right now.
Over time, talking to Wizards and trying to see sort of where they've been with Commander over all these years, a long time ago, they spoke a lot about the Invisibles, about the people who were buying cards. They couldn't figure out what they were really doing with them. They were definitely buying them. They were selling, but they weren't being tracked in any sort of WPN or DCI back in the day type systems. And I think what Commander gave them was the definition of the Invisibles. What are the Invisibles doing? They're playing Commander. And so when you realize that the people who are buying all this product love Commander, well, if Standard's not the most balanced thing in the world, whatever. Like, maybe it's not the end of the world, where I feel like they thought it was a huge deal many, many years ago. Well, and these days it's like, well, ban and move on.
Well, I would argue that they were largely invisible because they were literally being swept under the rug, where, remember when you would go to a GP and you didn't have a place to play? You were literally you were squatting. You were like trying to find any empty table, and then if a side event came along, the judges would boot you out, and you had to, it wasn't until, I think, Command Zone Vegas was really the turning point, when they actually built a dedicated area and people had a reason to come out. And that's really, I think, where the tide turned, where, we weren't scrounging for seats. We weren't having to go sit in the hotel lobby. We were playing in the same venue as you all, with spaces, with chairs, with tablecloths. They saw that events like that sell out, and they had data that they couldn't deny, and then that's when the Command Fest started, and those sold out, and those had massive turnouts, and the online Command Fests have done well too. It's just, you just had to give them a place to play, and that's all it took.
Right. So there had to be that leap of faith, essentially, because I assure you, the organizers were like, Commander players don't buy anything. They don't pay anything. They're just there to freeload and move on. Maybe they'll buy a few singles, but that's it.
The problem was they just weren't using the right data. Because I even encountered this. I'll never forget, I went to GP Madison last year, and I'd even had that conversation with a CFB employee, and he tried saying that. He tried saying, and I was like, no. I was like, I've bought singles, I've bought food, I bought sleeves, I bought coasters. Don't tell me I didn't spend money here. And then he backtracked and he was like, no. He's like, I'm not saying that. He's like, we just don't track those metrics. He's like, at this point, we're just tracking attendance, and you are not paying an entry fee to play Commander. So in that sense, you don't exist. But once you start tracking entry into Command Fest and Command Zones, they can't deny that, and that's what they really need.
Plane flights to Vegas are cheap because you'll spend all the money in the casino. That's how it's going to work. I mean, you get the butts in the seats is what you do, and Commander gets the butts in the seats.
And they gave them the promo card they needed.
It's true,
right? Like they gave them the promo stuff to say, like, we're catering to you, not just giving you here's some tables, but like here's a promo thing, here's a cool playmat, here's a cool deck box. You can only get this when you participate.
We talked about before. We've talked about the idea of will you pay more for a better experience? And I think we've shown that Commander players will absolutely pay a little bit more if it means you're not asses to elbows, and if it means you get a nicer chair or you get a water fountain or whatever it might be, as opposed to the grinders where they won't even bring a play mat, just give them play points.
Yeah, exactly. All they want is planeswalker points.
They'll play on the floor if they have to.
They want a crumb is all they. Yeah, exactly. Because your thing, I think, Evan, is not counting up. I believe we are at 32 subs.
Oh wow!
This evening.
Why is this broken? Why did
halfway
you
through
do
the show, I believe
Evan, you are getting older. I hear that it does.
It's true. Yeah,
it's not working the way it used to.
It happens to every stream.
It's not working the way it used to.
We can get a computer doctor to take a look at it. If your Streamlabs doesn't work for longer than 4 hours,
oh my god. Consult your nearest Twitch support. Right. Okay.
But yeah, I think we're at 32. I think we're at 32 is where we're at.
Plenty of time.
That's terrific. It is my birthday. I only turned 40 once. That's a thing. All right. Let's see. So there is a thing called the Hasbro PulseCon that is happening this Friday.
Okay.
This Friday and Saturday, where Hasbro, this is basically HasCon online, for lack of a better term, where they're going to announce a bunch of really cool products, probably unique to this convention or only sold during a certain time period during this convention.
Right.
We don't know exactly what, but this is talking about including all of their brands, like Magic, like, I don't know, Star Wars, Ghostbusters, stuff like that, all sorts of stuff. The PulseCon exclusives.
There's musical performances, Tenacious D, Fall Out Boy, and Lights.
What?
Yeah. So Transformers toys, they're using G.I. Joe toys, which
Special
is a
guests
thing.
include Ernie Hudson, John Cena, Jason Reitman, Henry Golding, the cast of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Andre Meadows, D. Bradley Baker, Ashley Eckstein, Joe Manganiello, Kyle Newman, Matthew Lillard.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and a young lady named Jackie Jennings is the host.
Amazing. Cool. This is I haven't heard anything about this. Why?
Who knew?
Why is this not? Why am I? And so Matthew Lillard is a Dungeons and Dragons guest.
So they're doing D&D stuff first thing on Friday.
Which, by the way, Hackers came out 25 years ago. So,
hey, I love that movie. Zero cool, y'all. Zero cool.
It's great.
I made a Parker Lewis Can't Lose joke earlier. That was my favorite.
Wow.
No one got that one.
Well, that's because you're old.
It's okay.
So Hasbro PulseCon.
Yes.
First of all, heck of a name. Second of all, it's not a con so much as it's an online streamed programming thing. So it's a bit misnamed. However, I'm excited that they're doing it. Because it is, it's essentially a return to form for them to be able to say, hey, remember us? We have these great things that you usually don't get to just see online.
They also
so they get to curate this
exclusive
program.
Items you can buy. They have a little figurine of Evan here.
Do they?
I put a link in the chat.
Let's take a look.
All right, cool. Well, look, all I know is this Friday at 11 a.m.
It's me and Evan. Look at that.
There's going to be a special look behind the scenes at the creation of Zendikar Rising with Rosewater. Should be pretty interesting. I'm not sure if that's pre-recorded or not. I wouldn't be surprised at either, quite frankly.
Ooh, MTG Effect just gifted a bunch of subs.
Oh my god!
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 7 subs?
I know we're at least 33, it tells me here.
2, 3.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
I think that's 7. I think we're at 39.
Oh, man.
Goodness gracious. Well,
pretty sure.
Congratulations to fellow community member, the Mana Pool Podcast.
Yeah.
They have reached 600 episodes.
Wow. Unbelievable. 600 for the Mana Pool. Chewy, I've been on 2.
This is on our 250th show tonight.
I have not been on a Mana Pool. I was on a Monday Night Magic once, and I'll never forget, I didn't know that you weren't supposed to swear on that show. And I made the mistake of swearing, and their audience was so mad at me. They were like, how dare you? And so it was my mic.
Save it for the Mana Pool pre-show. But yeah, Chewy is one of the OGs and certainly the most consistent of the podcasters.
Yeah.
Was or currently is still handling the podcast network, the Magic Podcast Network.
MTG Cast?
Yeah, MTG Cast.
Okay.
And crazy stuff.
So thank you for the gifts.
Yay! I think that's it. We are at 44.
Well, it's Evan's birthday.
Goodness
you don't have
gracious.
to stop at 40.
Hey.
He's not shopping at 40. He's going to keep going.
That's right. Hey, hashtag how many kids before I die?
Boy.
All right, here we go. Look, well,
that got
again, congratulations. I know, right? I'm just playing. Sorry, jeez. Goodness. Well, magic artist Karl Kopinski, get well soon. The guy is a big cyclist, but unfortunately was hit by a car.
Yeah.
He broke his hip, internal bleeding, and several other problems, including almost having a finger cut off. But it was not his drawing hand.
And
so
he
we're
still
good.
has the card. So this was the announcement was made on a signature service. There's several signature services on Facebook that let you get your cards autographed by artists who don't normally make it to events. And so apparently he says, although least importantly, he does have our cards, and hopefully he gets better quickly. So here's hoping that he's feeling better. But they wanted you to know that if you ask for a signature, he does still have your stuff, and your stuff is okay.
Yeah, we could. I mean, there are enough cards from Karl Kopinski that we could do a top 10 Karl Kopinski cards, including Vorinclex, the new Aether Vial.
We haven't. I don't think we haven't done a top 10 artist show, have we? Like,
we've done top 10 artists,
right? But not about like cards and artists has.
Right, we haven't done like a top 10 Karl Kopinski. We haven't done a top 10 Kev Walker.
All right,
but like Hinterland Harbor, Nim Deathmantle. I mean
Rebecca Gay obviously needs one.
Hashtag Gay Pride.
That's right. Very nice. All right, so let's move on here to Desperate Ravings. I quote.
Oh boy.
From Twitter. I believe this was just a little bit ago. So this was yesterday. So from Twitter on yesterday.
No, it was yesterday. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yesterday around 2 o'clock Eastern. Wizards Magic says, we're closely monitoring developments in Standard. In order to avoid disrupting this weekend's tournaments, we intend to provide an update on the format early next week. Zendikar Rising had been legal for 5 days. 5 days. What is happening?
This was really the topic on Twitter lately. A lot of people who, quite frankly, don't design cards and have no experience with designing cards were, really coming down on Wizards and saying, like, what's going on here? Why are we here again? And many people came to their defense and said, it takes a lot to design a set and design cards, and if you've never been there, you can't really judge. And, that was really what people were talking about lately is this planned? Is it meant to be this broken, this pushed? What's the impact on the community? Is this part of the experiment? Is this working as intended? This was really what everybody was talking about lately.
Yeah. Their Team Lotus Box announced a new podcast about how to fix Magic, with a lot of pro players who would discuss game theory, essentially. Shivam had a lot of thoughts on how Commander and Standard are sort of in a weird relationship in terms of game design right now, and how designing for Commander is hurting both Standard and Commander. Obviously, Pleasant Kenobi was the loudest of the voices on Twitter most recently. And so, yeah, I mean, just at me already, right? So he and others were. I mean, there's a reason why this is in Desperate Ravings. This was the scuttlebutt of the last 24 hours. So it is easy to be a Monday morning quarterback and say, oh, they should have done this. Oh, they should have done that. Oh, and obviously everyone is like, it's got to be Uro, right? They're not going to ban anything from the new set. You have Uro that puts a land into play and gains you life in the landfall set. We already have this Omnath Locus Pocus, which is the name of the program. Hey, he said the thing. So
roll credits.
Yeah, we have this writing on the wall. And then they make this announcement 5 days in before paper's even legal. Not that paper's
not even released, not even close, not even a glint in the eye at this point. Like so, pre-release stuff as the max right now.
On the one hand, get your amateur hour comments in order. But on the other hand, there is some truth to the complaints.
Well, I think it ultimately boils down to, I mean, it's valid feedback, but as we've said many times, I mean, if the cards are selling and Wizards has no motivation to stop doing what they're doing, and, they're in a really unique situation where, even if people stop buying cards for Standard, even if they stop playing Standard, you can still buy cards for other formats, and that in a way makes it harder to, I mean, all the money ends up in Wizards' coffers, so it's tricky. I think it's complicated. I think that you have the fact that people's relationship with Magic is complicated. You have the way that there's so many formats, it kind of protects them from people walking away from it, if that makes sense. I think that both things can be true, that you can acknowledge that Magic is hard design, and you can also ask, like, WTF, because the last 3 years have really been unprecedented, and you have to wonder, like, what's really going on there.
And I can see, it looks to me at least a little bit like the philosophies of other card games. For example, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a bad habit of coming out with a new set and banning all the stuff that was super good before the set came out because you want to play with just the new stuff because that's the new hotness. That's what they want you to play, yada, yada, yada. How much manipulation goes in that, I don't know. I can just tell you that over the course of my career of talking about Magic cards, I think Wizards has listened to competitive players less in terms of card design. Sure. And honestly, I think they've done very well for it. We are loud and we are cantankerous and we're mad and but the cards are selling better than ever. Yes, we should not have this format with Fires of Invention in it. No question about it. But all the Commander players are loving Fires of Invention. That's a really cool card that does cool stuff for their decks that they really enjoy. Let them have that fun. That's cool. Like, something's going to be the best. It might be busted. Like, it's only when it gets to, like, Oko, sort of standards, like when it's really bad, when they have to ban in literally everything.
Yeah.
And now you have Uro. But is Uro going to get banned in Modern? I don't think so. Like, is it going to be banned in Vintage? No. Is it going to be restricted in Vintage? No. But Oko is like...
But you look at what Standard... Let's say that no ban list Standard could be a format, right?
Would be insane, right? Would be actually nuts, right?
Right? Where all the Commander or all the companions... Our original companion rule. Right. You have Oko, you have Fires of Invention, you have Winota. Like, that would be its own format.
It would be its own format of crazy silliness, right? And so, Ikoria, the best-selling spring set of all time. Like, it's not like Zendikar hasn't been selling great, even though it's had a whole bunch of production problems. Like, these cards are still doing super well. And, yeah, Omnath might be busted, but, like, whatever. Like, I'd go get my 4 copies on Arena now so you can get those wild cards when they get rid of it.
I'm thinking of having 4 Once Upon a Time in an Omnath deck, and it makes me very happy.
Can you with Lotus Cobra? I mean, for real?
The impact on older formats has been amazing. Belcher? Everyone's wanting to play Belcher now. Because
that's because you can run the other lands.
Because the lands and spells, that whole relationship. And so Belcher is seeing more play in Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. I don't know if it's Tier 1 yet, but it's at least Tier 2 now. Like, people are really running with it. Modern Mill won one of the Modern challenges last weekend. Thanks to Ruin Crab and thanks to, some of the other mill spells that are out there. And so in older formats, people are having an absolute blast with these cards. I saw an Oath of Druids player in Vintage the other day who was testing out the Valakut's Reclamation, I think, where You can put things on the bottom and draw, because Oath of Druids, sometimes you draw your Grizzlebrand and you're like, whoop, and you just draw another one. And so in terms of older formats, these cards are having a really nice impact. People are testing the Monument in vintage shops decks. It's a good time.
Absolutely. So this is, this is one of those things where is Standard kind of a little warped, I guess is a way to put it. Could you not make your Mythics do 12 things? That would be pretty good. Usually when they do 11 things, they're okay, but 12's too much.
Yeah.
There was an article on CoolStuffInc.com where you can find free content every weekday. And 100% free. No paywalls involved.
Wow.
Where Frank Lepore broke down a Standard challenge on the 20th where 60% of the decks were Omnath decks. It had 78 copies of Uro.
Gross.
It's just gross, and 63 copies of Mystical Dispute because it counters Uro, or it counters Omnath rather.
Counters everything.
Red Cap Melee, it was 58 copies. 75% of the decks had it because it deals 4 damage exactly to a red creature like Omnath.
Yep.
This, to me, honestly feels partly of that kind of that swing that you have in any meta game, right? Where you go, this is the best thing, and now you're going to have this other thing that's going to come out and hurt Omnath. I've played Omnath. It's not unbeatable.
Right.
It's just very, very good.
Right. I think that it's an ultimatum deck. The fact that an ultimatum deck is the best thing to do in the format right now is cool. There are certainly ways to deal with it. And when people start, we've said let the metagame adjust before.
Right.
The metagame will adjust to this deck.
Right.
Uro, though, is the card that won't be adjusted to, because Uro is the thing that whatever beats this, whether it's Sultai, whether it's whatever, or another Bant deck or whatever.
Or just an aggro deck or whatever. Mono red does well against it.
Very likely will be an Uro deck.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Maybe. Again, this to me is, do you ban the new Mythic or do you ban the old Mythic? When I hear people Uro is not necessarily the thing that makes that deck great anyway. The Omnath into Escape from the Wilds into blah, 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 Genesis Ultimatum.
I don't think Omnath is the problem. Omnath, again, the way we've been talking about dealing with Omnath is Mystical Dispute and Red Cat Melee. Cool.
Man,
those are answers.
Omnath gives you 4 free mana. Between Aleto's Cobra.
But we have a bunch of 1-mana answers to it. It's Uro that's the problem.
Oof.
In my opinion.
Oof.
And Lotus Cobra.
As it were. Well, and it kind of becomes on, there was a clip that we link in the show notes from Gabriel and the Thief where he talks about look, man, things are good. There's going to be a best thing. When they get rid of Uro or Omnath or whatever they do, or if they do nothing at all, something is going to be the best deck. You're going to love it. You're going to hate it. You're going to get tired of it. You're going to see it everywhere. It's going to be the best in percentages. And sometimes you just bowl people over sometimes with this Omnath deck. It's not even close. I feel bad sometimes of how much I'm crushing my opponent. It's stupid.
It is kind of wild. When you have multiple Lotus Cobras and then you just start going off with Felidar Retreat or Terror of the Peaks, depending on whatever deck you're playing.
And you'll pay a second Omnath so you can get the more landfall triggers from the second Omnath. You're just flipping tables. What is happening? Up is down. This deck is ridiculous.
It definitely does cascade very quickly.
Do you feel, this is interesting from the chat from Granada there, do you think Siege Rhino would have been banned? Were we in the environment we're in now?
Oof.
That card was everywhere.
If you think that Omnath is the card that is going to get banned, no, I don't think Siege Rhino would have survived. I don't think Siege Rhino and the Siege Rhino decks were the problem, in much the same way that I don't think Omnath is the problem. I think that the mana was too good during Khan's Standard, and you just could play every good card during Khan's Standard. In much the same way, I think that the support around Omnath, with Omnath as the centerpiece, Omnath as the team captain for certain, but I think that it's not... The deck would be good if Omnath were banned. The deck would still be good.
Yeah, I just don't think the deck would do what it's doing now without Omnath. Omnath giving
it would certainly not be doing what it's doing now.
Giving the life game back to you, it does all of those things.
I think a closer comparison than Siege Rhino would be Bloodbraid Elf. I think Bloodbraid Elf and Omnath are similar in terms of when Bloodbraid Elf was banned from Modern. Let's look at that version of the deck. It itself was very good, and when it was banned, Jund got worse. But Jund was still a top 3 deck in the format when Bloodbraid Elf got banned. So and Bloodbraid Elf paid for the sins of another card, Deathrite Shaman.
Right.
I think that if Omnath gets the axe, it's paying for the sins of Ura.
And obviously, we'll see how this shakes out. And Wizards, again, this to me is one of those, like, I like the powerful cards. I do. I really enjoy it. It's okay to ban Fires of Invention. I'm happy it happened. I'm not upset that it exists. I'm like, well, I had my fun. It was ridiculous. We found out it was ridiculous. We got rid of it and we moved on. They gave you your wild cards back. The cards are not terrible in paper. They're still seeing plenty of play in different formats. People having fun with it.
Sure.
Yes, I agree. It would be stupid that we could have a no ban standard. That would be interesting. But it's fine.
The other thing is that information moves so quickly as time slip.
And people also have access to the cards earlier too.
Exactly.
You have the early access event where people can start playing a week before, a couple of days before.
The metagame gets solved so quickly because of Arena.
So many games. You don't just log into Arena for one game. You are going and going and going, and you can share your findings in the Discord. And so, it's a lot easier. You're getting more eyes on the game, more eyes on these cards than I'm sure Wizards has access to. And so, there's a number of factors in terms of why these formats feel like they're getting broken so quickly.
Listen, I'm turning 40 years old, all right? I remember back in the day, I had to wait 2 weeks to play these cards on Magic Online. 2 weeks after the release date, not after the pre-release. Thanks. When the rocks were soft, and we had to wait weeks after the release to play on Magic Online. Kids these days breaking formats in 5 days and stuff.
And then when you had a sweet deck idea, you would roll into a little scroll, you would tie it to a pigeon, and you would just...
And you'd send it off to Scry Magazine.
Where they would cut down the trees to make the magazines.
To make
they sent them out the door.
You would make the sideboard guy with the hammer and the chisel.
Right.
Yes.
They would have the pulp of which they would churn the sheets.
They would have to get their typesets out with their uppercase and their lowercase letters to make sure that they can...
So look, when you open a set booster, 25% of the time...
I don't even know what a set booster is.
It's what they want you to buy now. Is a draft booster. It's got a bunch of foils in it and stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it's the most popular way to get Magic cards now, Aaron. Get with the times.
That's right. So when you open your set booster, 25% of the time you're going to get a card from the list.
Right.
This could be from Food Chain to Muscle Sliver or whatever. And it appears that some MTG Finance peeps have done some math on this. The drop rate on Mythics, like Ren and 6, for example, is on the list, right? The drop rate is, for Mythics, 1 in 10,200 packs.
Cheapers.
The rare is 1 in 1,200 packs. The uncommon is 1 in 400 packs, and the common is 1 in 150 packs. Don't expect to pull a Ren and 6 easily, they say.
Okay.
Because, my God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
How does that compare to a foil Mythic from a regular set?
Way more rare. Like way more rare. Like that's just crazy. 10,000 packs for one Mythic, like that's silly. So
10,000 packs is just an absurd number of packs.
It's a lot. And so you're saying there's a chance. Chad says yes.
Right.
Yes, there is. It is very small. Good luck. All right, so let's go ahead and turn the corner here.
Do you think you've opened 10,000 packs of Magic cards that you owned, not counting set releases?
Right, and that's the thing. I've worked at businesses where I have literally opened packs for 8 hours, and like my shoulders are killing me at the end of the day.
So a pack? I'm going to do some math.
When you do this, like literally
10,
for hours and hours, popping the packs or whatever, you'd be surprised.
That is 277.77 repeating boxes.
I don't know if I've opened that many packs myself.
I don't know if I have either. I may have. I've played a lot of limited events.
I think 1,000 I think I could do. I think I could pass 1,000. I don't know if I can pass 10K.
I could easily pass 1,000.
Yeah. All right.
Interesting.
Moving on here to the finish. Lordy, I'm 40. And not only that, tonight is our 250th show. So now that I'm over the hill... God, y'all are awful. Tell me, you relative whippersnappers, what's the first thing you plan on doing when you see your 5th decade? Aaron?
Well, I'm not looking forward to my impending 40th particularly, but I am looking forward to changing demographics. No longer will I be in the coveted 25 to 39 demographic that Hollywood cares so much about. No longer do I need to answer my census questions like I'm a child. And no longer do I need to pretend to fit into what the kids think are cool. You hear that, Hollowvine players? I'm over you and your Gen Z TikTok hashtag bullcrap.
Yeah.
In Dredge, we play Dredge cards. This is an affinity thing, okay?
Yeah.
Back
in my day, we had to walk uphill both ways and dredge 6.
Ruben?
We played Dakmore Salvage, and we liked it.
Right.
We liked it. Exactly. We enjoyed it.
We drew our 8th card for the turn and then passed. You jerks. Well, I'm thankfully a bit further away, but time marches ever on, and it's going to happen before I know it, especially now that time is meaningless. So what am I going to do when I hit the big 4-0? Well, I think I might finally play the best deck instead of playing a deck that I think beats the best deck. Assuming that's mono red still.
Of course.
Because I'm only going to play because I'm just going to play mountains.
Well, look, y'all, I'm 40. So technically the first thing that I'm doing as a 40-year-old is reading this punchline. But after this, I'm going to do what everyone does when the clock strikes 12 on the night of my birthday. I'm going to sleep. It's a school night, for God's sake, and my old bones be aching. So go to bed because Papa needs his naps.
Me too.
That's right. Goodness gracious. Well, that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me, and happy birthday, Evan.
Thanks, Ruben.
Thank you, and happy birthday. I'm very excited and pleased that we get to do this 250 times. And you've always been one of the guys who's like the main guy in my corner. And you created this. You've created a lot of things that are indelible to Magic and to the world. And happy birthday! You're an important facet of my life.
Oh, well, thanks, guys. You guys are great. Well, I love you both. Yeah, and you guys are watching too or listening.
Yeah.
Great.
Now go to bed.
I'm tired. I didn't want to see I'm cranky. Shut up. Go to our final slide. Oh my goodness. I want to thank our sponsor CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, my co-host Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bressler, you guys for watching or listening. I hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.